Hello, everybody. This is John, and welcome to the 49th Parallel podcast. Thanks for tuning in and checking out what we're doing here. It's a podcast about two different kinds of Midwestern men who are chronicling their 49th or 50th year of life, depending upon how you do the math, as they pursue the American dream. And I am one of those men. I am John, and the other is Doug. And now Doug does not turn 49 until July 5th. So for the next little while, you'll be listening to me do podcasts, and I will do some of my podcasts with Doug, us together. But Doug won't be contributing on his own until he turns 49, and he'll begin to share his thoughts and observations and different things that strike him as thoughtful or strike me as ridiculous. So the way this works is we're just a couple of guys. We're different people. We're friends, but we have different jobs, or some have no job at all sometimes. And but somehow, despite our differences and whatnot, there were some similarities. Both kind of grew up hard scrabble, lower middle class lives, and had some involvement in the ministry and in church work. One still does, and one is completely out of that scene, that picture. But we just struck up a friendship, and so this is our podcast in which we explore what's happening in our lives and whatnot. So one of the things that struck me today, so I don't have anything quite planned out here, as I'm just trying to get my sea legs as far as how this is going to go. But I was over at a friend's house, and I was using their water closet. And while I was taking care of business, they had a magazine rack, and one of those magazine racks was a health and fitness yoga kind of magazine. And I was thumbing through it, and I noticed that when I got to the back cover, that there was this full page ad for this yoga kind of clothing line, and it featured just like a black backdrop, and then this rather fit young woman doing a yoga pose in which she's kind of kneeling and sitting, and then her arms are above her head, doing some hiya kind of thing, but not hiya at all, but she looked very poised and put together, and she had yoga pants on, this company's brand of yoga pants, and kind of like a sports bra kind of thing, but it was a little bit more modest, I guess you could say. And I was just kind of, checking out the ad and seeing if there was anything special about the clothes or how they looked or whatever. And when I scanned the girl's bare midriff, something just struck me as off, and what I noticed is that the artists, or the photo people, had completely obliterated her abdomen, and then they had tried to kind of airbrush approximation of what it might be, but it really failed. And it clearly failed in my untrained eyes, in that they neglected to give her a belly button. So now I realize that, they're going to want to find someone who best represents the kind of people that might buy their clothing. And so I imagine this model would have to be fairly fit and in good shape, and she was probably chosen amongst dozens of people. If she had disfiguring scars on her stomach, or if she had like a pot belly, or, I don't know, some sort of problem with her complexion or whatever, then they probably would not have chose her. But they chose this woman to be, and this is not like a super mainstream magazine. This is not like, a top, this is kind of a niche magazine. So it's not, so I'm imagining like people who advertise in there would want to do it as cheaply as possible. But yet they went through all the effort of airbrushing this girl's stomach out and removing her belly button. And that looked really, really, really odd to me. And so I was just thinking, like, what could have been wrong with this girl's stomach? I mean, she was incredibly fit, but yet there was something that just was not just right. I don't know if maybe she had a tattoo that they had to airbrush off, or some sort of mold or something. But then again, I think if she would have had those things, that she wouldn't have gotten chosen for the modeling gig to begin with. But what is it about this notion of physical perfection to where this, 21-year-old lithe yoga model is not fit enough, or her abdomen was not good enough that they had to airbrush it, and that just that just really struck me. I thought just and enough is enough. We as people, we're not that dumb. We're not really falling for this quote unquote media or culture message, are we? So that made me think about beauty and our perception of beauty. And I was thinking that when I was a younger man, that my perception or my idea of beauty was probably much more narrow and much more shallow, and probably 98% having to do with how someone physically looked. But as I've like, you get stuck on a hair color and that's your thing, or the height of a person, you only find beauty in those people who are of a certain height, and those who are shorter, you just don't, or whatever. I mean, everyone's kind of got their own weird kink about it, right? But as a young man, my perception of beauty was much more narrow, and as I've gotten older, those things that I find, and I'm mostly talking about people, okay? A flower's always been beautiful. It's not like it's more beautiful the older I get. We're talking about my perception of people and who and what I find attractive or acceptable, normative or whatever. But as I've gotten older, I found my opinion has broadened. And as it's broadened, it's kind of accepted more of those things that some people would find not so attractive. And I'm not going to go into a detail of what those things are, but maybe a little less judgmental. And I think part of it, though, is as you're younger, I also have had shallower relationships with other people. And I think as I've gotten older, I become maybe more selective on those people who I have relationship with. But those who I do have relationships with, I have deep ones. And when I when I meet new people, and I've kind of always been this way as an adult, but I really kind of want to just cut through the bullshit and really, who is this person? And not to size them up or anything, but I think it's more of just what energy can I tap into? And when you do that, when you make a connection with a person, it changes how you see them, how you physically see them, like things about them that you may not have found attractive or that you weren't drawn to at all. Not that you were like repelled by them and then you had a cup of coffee with them, now they're beautiful or anything. Nothing like that, but something changes almost in your eyes, but it really happens in your heart that that you begin to have a friendship with this person. And when you're friends with people, it's easier to find the beauty within them rather than the things that you don't know, or people that you don't know, which may cause you to be fearful of them and thus judge them more harshly. So just kind of put a period on that. New paragraph, different topic, on the same theme though. In my jobs that I've had, I spend a lot of time in downtown Minneapolis, and so during lunch hour between 11 and 2 o'clock, the certain avenues of downtown Minneapolis are quite bustling and are very polite and orderly, northern Midwestern Scandinavian way, as I would challenge anybody to come with me and come down there and just randomly choose, 5 people out of these thousands that are kind of bustling down Nicollet Mall. Take 5 people and just pull them aside and have a professional photographer, have Courtney Perry take a posed picture of them. And if you were to take those photos of those 5 random people from the thousands of people that just happen to be going up and down Nicollet Mall, if you took those photos and you showed them to other random people, I bet those random people would say those are photographs of professional models. And it's not because of the great, photographic skills of the photographer, which would lend the photo some credence, but my point is, if you look at someone with the intent of seeing beauty, you're going to find it. And if you connect with someone in that way, you can draw that beauty out of them. And the truth of the matter is of all models, professional models that get paid a lot of money to be representations of beauty, and of course, the pool of actors that are in our movies who represent some sort of standard of beauty and appearance and style and whatever. These people on the street are just as beautiful as those people are. That these random people that you meet every day are just as beautiful, just as poised, and in their own way as talented as these people that we exalt and hold in high esteem or standard. And that made me think about how that just everybody is beautiful in their own way, and we need to realize that about other people. I need to realize that about other people, and I need to realize that about myself too. That people can see beauty in me if I'm willing to open up and pursue the beauty in them. Well, this is thank you for listening. This is the third day 3 of my 49th/50th year of life. Thank you. Listen to the 49th Parallel podcast, a podcast of 2 men, 2 parallel lives with one mission, one adventure, and that's to live life. Thank you. Listen more.